Let us pray. Holy God, we come here this morning to worship you, and our hearts need and long to hear your living word spoken into our lives. God, we pray that you would open our hearts and our minds and our ears to hear what you would have to say to your people today, so that either through my words or in spite of them, we would know you and we would know what you're saying. Amen. So I wasn't planning to preach on the crossing of the Red Sea this morning, but I also wasn't planning for the city of Leominster to experience devastating flooding this week. And when I saw that Exodus chapter 14 was one of this morning's lectionary passages, I knew that God had a word for us today. We can only imagine what it would have been like to be there on that day when God parted the Red Sea. According to the scriptures, there were 600,000 Israelite men at the Exodus. If you add in women and children, it probably would have been somewhere in the region of about 2 million people. If they had walked 100 abreast, the line would have been 15 miles long. And yet, each one of those people was a beloved child of God. Imagine being just one of them. You've been walking for a couple days now. Left, right, left, right, left, right. Your sandals rub blisters on your feet. You keep walking. You're hungry and you're tired and you're sweaty, but you keep walking. You feel like your brain is in some kind of a fog, thick with memories from everything that's happened in the past few weeks. It started with whispers of a secret meeting between the Israelite elders and some guy named Moses who claimed that God had spoken to him through a burning bush. Then there were the reports of political unrest after Moses had gone to speak with Pharaoh, the king, followed by Pharaoh inflicting harsher work conditions on you and your family and your friends and all of God's people. And then not long after that, ordinary life simply ceased to exist. First, the water in the river turned to blood. Then came the frogs, then the gnats, then the flies. Then the livestock died. Then there were the boils covering your body. Then the thunder and the hail, then the locusts, then the darkness, and then finally the sudden death of every firstborn child and animal. And that is when you left. All 2 million of you, throwing everything you could into a backpack, family heirlooms, extra clothes, food. You left so quickly that the women walked the first leg of the journey carrying bowls of unrisen bread dough. There hadn't even been enough time to wait for that dough to rise. You wonder, will you ever see your home again? Will you ever sleep in your bed again? The sound of Moses' voice yanks your mind back to the present moment. He's yelling, "Hurry up, hurry up." You look back and you see the Egyptian army approaching on the horizon, armed and angry and heading straight your way. You look ahead and all you can see is water, the Red Sea. Your heartbeat skyrockets as the now familiar feeling of panic returns. You are trapped. You have nowhere left to go. At the risk of making it sound like my own experience in the flooding on Monday night was somehow equivalent to what the Israelites went through, and of course it wasn't, I will say that I can identify with the feeling of being trapped by water with nowhere left to go. On Monday evening, Esme and I were attempting to drive home from downtown Leominster. We headed down North Main Street, but the water kept getting deeper and the traffic was at a standstill. And I realized that the water was only going to get higher with every minute that passed. I decided I'd take a little shortcut through the Sunset Towers parking lot, which we all know at this point was a big mistake. Because within seconds, I was in too deep of water and my car started making these weird noises. And fortunately, I was able to turn around and I think I got out with seconds to spare. And then next, we tried going up West Street, but we turned around when we realized that multiple cars in front of us were stalling out in too deep of water. And then we tried Merriam in 2 different places, same issue both times. And each time we turned around, my sense of concern grew greater, worrying that we would run out of routes to get home, wondering if we ever did make it home, what the house would look like when we got there. Now, thankfully, numerous U-turns and course changes later, Esme and I did make it home through a network of some side streets. But it was a scary experience, followed by a scary night of watching and waiting for what would happen next, when it felt like all of life was dependent on the one thing that no one can control, the weather. Now, I choose to share this story today, not because it's unique in any way, but because it's so common. In fact, my story is rather bland compared to what many have gone through this week. Numerous members of our church and countless members of our community faced similar and far more terrifying circumstances only 6 days ago. And for many, the work of recovery has only just begun. And, of course, while I don't want to downplay the recent flooding in our own community, our situation is sadly not overly unique. Only days ago, in the Libyan city of Derna, a devastating flood left over 11,000 people dead. Over the course of the last 9 months, the U.S. alone has been hit with 23 natural disasters. The more these disasters take place, the more it seems that living amidst disasters is simply part of what it means to be a human alive on this earth today. And while we can talk and strategize and take certain actions to plan for and reduce these sorts of catastrophes, when a disaster strikes, there is little that we can do in that moment. We're trapped, kind of like the Israelites were when they found themselves caught between Pharaoh's army behind them and the Red Sea in front of them, with nowhere else to go. But of course, the story doesn't end there. Up in the distance, you see Moses lift his hand over the water, And then all of the sudden, you hear the sound of rushing wind and waves, and the waters part. And a wide pathway appears in the middle of the sea. A dry, sandy road is created with cathedral height hallways lined by walls of water on the left and on the right. And you walk through, and not a single Israelite life is lost. This story reminds me of an old gospel song written by Don Moen that says, "God will make a way where there seems to be no way. He works in ways we cannot see. He will make a way for me." Indeed, when we as human beings find ourselves trapped in situations where there is seemingly no way out, we have a God who will make a way. Now, it doesn't always look like the dry pathway in the middle of the ocean, as amazing as that must have been. Sometimes it looks like neighbors and friends helping to shovel water out of your basement, or the city emergency management showing up to tow cars and close roads and help citizens to safety. On Monday evening, there are about 40 or so cars parked in the church parking lot taking refuge from the floods because the church sits on high ground. And one of our members just happened to be here at the time, so he opened the doors and he let people come in, offering shelter, offering sanctuary. In the days since this occurred, I've received numerous messages from friends and colleagues all over New England and the country, offering prayers and asking, what can we do to help? That's where a lot of the flood cleanup buckets outside came from. Beloved, as people of God, we have been given eyes to see what God is up to in our world, even when it seems like there is no way out of the mess that we have found ourselves in. God will make a way where there seems to be no way. Can you see it? This is true not just for times of natural disaster, but for every situation in our lives. From dead-end jobs to wounded relationships, from sickness to injury, from addiction to depression, and so many other situations as well. God will make a way. We won't always like the way that God makes. Often it isn't how we would have done it, but God will make a way. Of course, the ultimate way that God has made is through Jesus, whose life and death and resurrection create a pathway for us as human beings to be saved from every horrible and death-dealing circumstance that this world has to offer. Jesus, who leads us from slavery to freedom, both in this life and in the life to come. Jesus, who saves us from ourselves and each other and our wounded world. Jesus, who makes a way for everyone. Beloved, the good news this morning is that no matter what trial you are facing, no matter what burden you are carrying, no matter how insurmountable your problems feel, God will make a way. He's done it before, and he'll do it again. Amen.